Okay, so I've started the setup of painting this setup here. This is a antique oil jar got it from France, shipped over here. Amazingly, it did not break. And then this is a mini ginger jar, and then the blue flowers are dried hydrangeas from, I think it was this past summer. I chose this because I like the color combination of gold and blue, and so this makes a really beautiful color palette and a really beautiful painting. What I'm going to do is I've chosen to do this in burnt umber. I normally do the drawing in raw umber, but I wanted the background to be warmer, so I chose burnt umber because it's a warmer color. And I've done pretty much like a value study here. Now it's not perfect because there's going to be more value color here than I have this set up right now. But I was trying to think of what did I want to paint the background. And when you're thinking about that, you want the background to move to the back and you want the foreground to move to the front. So the foreground are the objects that we're painting. So we need to make sure those come forward. Then with the background, we want that to be duller than anything that's in the foreground. And we also want to think of what do we want to be our star of the show. I want this little piece here to be the star of the show. It's smaller than this larger piece here, so it's going to be a little bit harder. Normally you're going to have the largest piece to be your star of the show. But with this one, we're going to have to work just a little bit extra hard to make this the star of the show, and I'll show you some of those tips and tricks. One thing is to make the background color more similar to this, and a complementary contrasting color to your main focal point. So the background color needs to be a warm, like an orange or a golden yellow. So that's what I'm gonna do. And then I also need to think about how dark do I want it to be. The darker we have the background, the more that I can make this really the star of the show, because this is so light. So I'm going to go with the colors kind of similar to this burnt umber. And when I'm looking at my paint here, I probably need to add some more burnt umber on here if that's the route I'm going to do. It's probably going to be a combination of ochre and burnt umber is going to be the main background color, making sure that it's dark enough to make this really shine. And if you can see on the picture over there, right about here, we're going to have some really nice reflected light, and I'm probably going to make that a bigger deal than what it actually is, and I'll show you that. That'll help with making this the focal point. The other thing is, if my background is really dark enough, what I can do, and I'll show you tricks on that, is I can make this object here really glow, and it will look like the light is the light particles are bouncing, are hitting this lid, and then bouncing off into the atmosphere and creating almost a halo effect, which is really kind of neat to go see. So I'll show you some a couple of ways, or at least one way of doing that. The other thing I wanted you to notice here is that there is a repetition. So we have all the flowers up here, but I also have one little flower here. So we've got a repetition. And then we also have the coordination of blue, blue, blue. And since I'm only going to use one blue here, the ultramarine blue, that's going to help with this also. Let me go through the colors that I'm using for this painting. Let me go through those. I'm using lead white. This color is chromium yellow primrose, which is kind of similar to either a cadmium yellow light or a cadmium lemon. This is yellow ochre. This is equivalent to a medium cadmium yellow. And normally I have a cadmium red light here, but I've painted this oil pot. This holds the oil that goes into a confit pot. I've painted this several times, and I always paint it with Venetian red, which is a older, it's kind of like a brick red. And then I also like using my Tuscan red or alizarin crimson. These two colors, I think, do the best job of making that vase or that oil pot just come alive. Now you can use the red, the cadmium red light if you wanted to. You would want to dull that down a bit with some black or one of the umbers in order to get that kind of a brickish red color to it. But I just like starting off with this red. And then anytime I paint the white ceramic with blue on it, I always use ultramarine blue. It just does such a gorgeous job, and I'll show you some tips and tricks on that. Here's the burnt umber. I need to put some more in black. So I don't have every color out, but I've painted these previously, or I painted this previously, so I kind of know what colors work well here. And because I'm using ochre and this the Venetian red and the umber, and and these are duller colors, this vibrant blue is really going to shine through. That vibrant blue and the white is just going to pop, and it's going to make it will make it easier to make this the star of the show. Okay, so I'm going to end this here. I'm actually going to go grab me some lunch, and then I'll come back and record while I paint this painting.